Let's say we got Mr. Mess. Now we move on to the 1972 releases. We got Mr. Messy. And now we go on to the 1972 releases. We got Mr. Messy. Published in 1972. Let's see, this is the first book being published in 1972, and the end. Mr. Messy was actually clean. Like there's a references from the Mr. Man show where he was clean for the first time in this show, is it? Yeah. Oh, move us to the other side to the 1972 releases there. Mr. Topsy Turvy. Which that number is number 9, which I'm number 9, which I'm age 9, which I'm number 9 as well. We got Mr. Silly. Oh, sorry. Mr. Uppity or Mr. Snooty. Mr. Small. For some reason, his hat was blue in the book, but his hat was black in the TV series. The last book the last book that was made in 1972 is Mr. Daydream. Yeah. Now move on to the 1976 releases. Move this right over here. No, let's move on. No, oh, sorry about that. Let's move the 1971 releases here and move the 1972 releases here. Off of Mr. Forgetful. This is all the first book released in 1976. We got Mr. Forgetful. Oh. His face was very small in the book. No. At the end. No, at this page, his face was very small. At the end, when he's laughing, his face was very, very small. This is published in 1976. Yeah, 1976. Mr. Jelly or Mr. Nervous in the US. Mr. Noisy. Mr. Lazy. Mr. Funny. Mr. Mean or Mr. Stingy in the US. Mr. Chatterbox. It's one of my favorite ones. Not Mr. Furry. Mr. Fussy. As you can see over here, there's Mr. Clumsy, but he didn't get released until 1976 for some reason. Mr. Bounce. Mr. Muddle. Hold on a second, sorry about that, guys. Mr. Dizzy. Mr. Impossible. It's also one of my favorite ones as well. And also Mr. Disney, Mr. Muddle is one of my favorite ones as well. And finally, from the 1976 ones is Mr. Strong. which Mr. Strong is also a classic as well as Mr. Bump, Mr. Happy, and Mr. Tickle. Now let's move on to the 1978 releases. Let's move all these around. So we got